Boys and girls, ladies and gentlemen, children of all ages, this is Jess with Common Nerd, bringing you pop culture and all things nerdy through a common sense lens. And I, probably like many of out there, been a Harry Potter fan since probably the books. Some of you may have grew up with the movies, then ended up going back and reading the books and finding out how much more wonderful they were than the movies. And it's one of those fun things out there, watching a lot of these kind of craziness that goes on in the media, right? We talk about how much the media lies and misleads and try to drum up nonsense with a bunch of salacious headlines, and we actually look into the meat and potatoes of things. Most of it ends up being BS and nonsense, and well, that's one of the reasons why the trust in the media is at an all-time low, and the legacy media continues to lose more people, continues to lose more subscribers, and is having to lay off more people over and over again because they simply like to lie. They like to mislead people, like to run with their own personal narrative when the actual truth is generally end up not even close to what their reality that they are trying to push is, which is why they have lost so many people. Well, boys and girls, ladies and gentlemen, obviously many of you are probably very well aware of the little bit of a blacklisting that our dear sweet JK Rowling has gotten simply because of the fact that she says men are men and women are women, and she doesn't want men in women's spaces and doesn't want women in men's spaces. And I think that's completely and totally understandable and reasonable. But as we've seen over the last few years, quite a few people out there who are down with the spirit of the age, who are going ahead and going to be in lockstep with everything out there that is put out in the PC culture that we've currently got going on. Yes, they have decided to betray JK Rowling after literally only owing their fame to her and her beautiful, wonderful creation that is the Harry Potter universe. Well, guess what, ladies and gentlemen? It's funny out there because there's a wonderful little quote that everybody really enjoys from one of the Dark Knight trilogy out there, which, hey, you know what? You either die the hero or live long enough to see the villain. Well, what happens if you start out the villain and see yourself live long enough to be the hero? Because boys and girls and ladies and gentlemen, contrary to what you've heard from the legacy media headlines, Tom Felton has responded to J.K. Rowling gender debate sparks media fury, but public reaction tells a different story. Yes, boys and girls, actual fans out there on social media are singing a very different tune than what you would hear from all of the legacy media headlines, who, of course, would never in any way, shape, or form ever have an agenda or push intentionally their own personal political biases in their writing, in their mediums. No, we have never seen anything like that in video game journalism or entertainment journalism. No, no, no. There's no activists running the shows or writing the articles over there. Now, are they? But of course, we all know the truth at the end of the day, boys and girls. So guess what? You know what? We're going to stand with Tom Felton today, like many of the other fans out there on social media have. And we're going to go over this article of thatparkplace.com and give you all of the juicy details and let you hear what he has said from his own mouth as well. But before we do, if you do enjoy our content, hit that like button, share with all your friends, and subscribe or follow if you have not already, boys and girls, because we are grinding, we are growing. We just crossed 2K. We are inching our way towards 2,100, and I could not do that without every single one of you. Also, leave us a comment in the section down below. Does it surprise you at all that the media is making up a bunch of BS spin and narrative, all trying to paint Tom Felton as the bad guy, where his actual words are something very different, and obviously the fan support is different as well? Or do you one of the Harry Potter fans out there that is a complete and total pixie duster sniffing the spirit of the ages farts, and you actually completely and totally agree with the legacy media institutions out there and think Tom Felton is nothing more than an absolute monster, just like J.K. Rowling? Let us know what you think about all that in the comment section down below. And to support the channel, please check out the links in the description as well. All right, from thatparkplace.com and our dear, sweet, wonderful Marvin Montanaro. Tom Felton has suddenly become the latest mainstream media target on an ongoing gender identity controversy, not for saying anything controversial himself, but for doing something far more scandalous in 2025. Thanking Harry Potter author J.K. Rowling. Gasp! The horror! Let me clutch my pearls! Oh no, you're thankful for somebody gave you a wonderful and beautiful franchise to love and adore and be part of that made you this incredible face that's known all the way around the world and where you love the fans and the fans love you and you always talk so good about us. Really? Like literally? Like, you know, they expect you to smack these people down because they don't agree with that 0.1% that 99.9% of the rest of the leftist little psychopaths out there agree with, right? You step one toe out of line, that's all it takes. That's how you know it's a cult. That's how you know. During an interview at the Tony Awards, Felton offered a brief and respectful comment about the woman who created the wizarding world that made him famous. That was enough for the media to pounce. In the eyes of some of the outlets, expressing gratitude is now grounds for cancellation.
How does the sort of Twitterverse controversy around JK Rowling's views impact you at all, or impact your work on the world at all?
No.
And it's one of them situations too. This is how you know a lot of these, and this is like probably like CBS or something like that. But either way, this is the problem we always see with this kind of stuff, right? And I think it's a variety. It looks like a variety microphone. This is always the problem with it. They ask these intentionally politically charged questions. Why aren't you here asking me about the movie or television show that I'm trying to promote? Or maybe my new suit, maybe my new tie. Like, why are we out here intentionally trying to turn everything entertainment into political nonsense and garbage? This is what the media has done. This is why no one trusts them anymore. It's why independent content creators and independent journalists out there are popping up all over the place and having great success, because gotcha nonsense questions like this is why no one trusts the media anymore. They are intentionally trying to paint people into a corner and trying to paint you into agreeing with their ideology publicly, and they will shame you if you don't. But guess what? Felton's not taking the bait, boys and girls. He's not taking it at all. It reminds me of Alana Vivani from the Miss Marvel series out there when they tried to pull this same nonsense with her too. She wasn't having no part of it either. Shout out to that girl.
I can't say it does. I'm not really that attuned to it. The only thing I always remind myself is that I've been lucky enough to travel the world. Here I am in New York, and I have not seen anything bring the world together more than Potter. And she's responsible for that, so I'm incredibly...
I like how he said that too. Potter. Just like he didn't know. Potter. I love how he said it like that too. Potter. That was great.
She's responsible for that, so I'm incredibly grateful.
Bam. There you go. The universe she created gave me the ability to travel around the world, be able to see all of these things, be able to experience all this stuff, be able to get really fat paychecks with probably some good royalties. And it's all because of her. It's all because of the genius that came out of her mind. And I'm just thankful for that. What is so wrong with that? Well, as we know, boys and girls, ladies and gentlemen, those that worship at the altar will not allow one of their quote-unquote own, i.e. another famous person in general, to ever step out of the line in any way, shape, or form. Because the internet has barely digested the quote before the headlines exploded, and not with nuance. No, say it ain't so. The legacy media institutions don't use any nuance? Who could have possibly thought that was coming? Media pushes a manufactured gender backlash against Tom Felton. Major entertainment sites quickly framed Tom Felton's mild response as a public disgrace and painted the picture of a man being torn to shreds by the good, decent folk of the world who were utterly disgusted with him for these comments. Dun, dun, dun. Within hours, articles appeared with titles like, Tom Felton sparks backlash after expressing gratitude to JK Rowling. Harry Potter star Tom Felton faces major backlash from Potterheads for his admirer of JK Rowling. If that was really the case, right, Hogwarts Legacy wouldn't have been the #1 selling game for 2023, because they tried this. They tried getting the game canceled. They had organized little thingies all over the internet and all kinds of nonsense, all kinds of protests, anything they could do, try to convince people not to buy that game because she's just such a bigot. She's a vile, evil woman. And guess what happened? #1 selling game of the year. Absolutely love it. Can't wait to see what they do next. And yeah, so once again, it didn't prove true. This is all a manufactured media narrative that does not express the reality of the world. Do you think if any of this backlash actually meant anything to actually any dollars in any way, shape, or form, you think Universal would have spent probably $1 billion on all the new Harry Potter land stuff that they just did in Florida? No, because they know the reality of this is not the actual fans out there. This is not the majority of the fan base. It's a very, very vocal minority that has wormed their ways into institutions with formerly power and trust as far as the media is concerned. Clearly, they have burned all that away, and nobody trusts them anymore. And it's because of headlines like this. I'm so tired of Harry Potter actors failing to meet the moment, and Tom Felton's backlash is deserved. Wow, that's not biased at all, now is it? Harry Potter fans tear into Tom Felton's response to JK Rowling's views. Where? On Reddit? Blue Sky, those places that everybody knows is a cesspool now and no person with half a brain in their head actually hangs out there for a very amount of time at all. Yeah. Tom Felton sparks backlash with atrocious JK Rowling comments. Yes, so atrocious to thank the woman whose genius mind gave you the ability to be a worldwide recognized face. I know, aghast, the horror. Like, these people are so stupid. The message was clear. Felton had crossed the line. The headlines weren't just reporting criticism. They were crafting a narrative. Once where Felton's grace was treated as betrayal, and where Rowling's name remains radioactive, even when mentioned without judgment. I mean, he literally just dodged the question like a champ. But scroll beyond the headlines, navigate over the actual Variety X post that started it all, and you'll find something the media conveniently ignored. Support for Tom Felton, and lots of it. Despite the attempt to frame the situation as another Potter Star Under Fire moment, the actual responses from fans and casual observers have been far more balanced, if not overwhelmingly supportive. While it's true that some progressive accounts condemned Felton, calling him a coward just like Malfoy, and accused him of speaking from a place of privileged indifference, but these voices were quickly met by choruses of pushback. And like I said, this is right here. This is from the Variety post themselves. And I'm sure we can go over to this post and probably find a whole bunch of them over here about why people just say, hey, you know what? This makes sense. We understand. We respect you, buddy. I mean, there's Quarter Black Garrett. Shout out to Garrett. Class. Toasty, well, he's smart enough not to bite the hand that feeds him. What a classy response. Tom stays winning. The best answer. Potter! Right? I love that. Thank goodness someone letting the franchise learn not to bite that hand that feeds him, says Lucy the Great. Turns out the villain was the good guy after all. What a gracious, respectful reply. Does this sound like a whole lot of backlash? How does the Dark Wizard have the most base take? There's no controversy among regular people who aren't insane. She's standing up for women and girls. Bravo. I'm not really that attuned to it. In other words, that don't affect me, so I can't bring myself to care. Exactly. Tom's PR person right now. You stupid SOP. One day you'll live long enough to see the villain become the good guy, and the good guy become the villain, right? Oh yeah, because all the Harry Potter and Hermione Granger, both of them are totally down. I haven't really heard anything from Ron that I can remember off the top of my head. But yeah, the other two, oh yeah, they're totally down. They're total acolytes of the cult. They totally are. Oh yeah, who would have thought Draco would have been the most level-headed? Hey, the perfect Severus. Hey, that's not a bad idea. Funny, Draco Malfoy turned out to be the best of the lot. The gas stove. That would be privileged, straight, white, cis male. Know about the oppression faced by my trans colleagues. Oh, good for him. Class act. There you go. Played the Slytherin, the only one level-headed view on this. Good for Tom. Love that guy. So obviously that doesn't exactly line up with that media headline of a narrative they're trying to spin. Now do they at all? Others noted how Felton's respectful approach stood in contrast to former stars like Radcliffe, Watson, and Grint, who distanced themselves from Rowling in the name of social virtue. Oh, no. No. I'll never get work again. No, we have to discredit her. We can't talk about her. No. We have to crush her. No, we have to get away from her. And Tom Felton's like, I wouldn't have all this if it wasn't for her. She's awesome. I love it. I love it. The most reasonable reply to an obvious trap question from a dishonest journalist. Well done, says Nick DeMondi. And he's absolutely spot on. I love seeing it when some of these, especially these younger actors, and Felton's not that young anymore. He still looks pretty young, though. But it's one of those situations like him and Amon Villani. There's been a few others that have been really good at like dodging these kind of gotcha questions. And it's so refreshing to see that. That gives me hope for the future of like entertainment and television shows and movies. Because if you've got this kind of class coming up, if you've got this generation out there that is willing to go, look, man, I'm not putting up with your BS. I'm not biting into your narrative. You know what I mean? I'm not biting the hand that feeds me. I'm not going to put up with this. I'm not going to deal with this nonsense. That's exactly what we need, because the more they do this, more they push back against, the more they avoid these questions and just not fall for the bait, then they will eventually have to stop asking them, because they're never going to get the conclusion they want. They're never going to get the answer they want that allows them to continue to push their narrative and show that everybody, even your favorite celebrity, well, he agrees. Why don't you agree, bigot? He agrees. Your favorite celebrity agrees, doesn't he? That's why this isn't working anymore. You have no power anymore. Nobody trusts you. The outpouring of agreement and support for Tom Felton and his refusal to condemn Rowling's gender stance continues on and on throughout the thread, flying in the face of the mainstream media narrative of progressive dog piles of the actor. And the growing sentiment is hard to ignore. People are tired of manufactured outrage. Felton didn't endorse any political position. He didn't debate gender. He simply acknowledged Rowling's impact, and for that, the press still lit the torches. JK Rowling herself is a victim of a heinous abuse that has remained firm in her views, defending sex-based rights and frequently challenging activist-driven changes to gender definitions. She has openly criticized former Potter stars for siding against her, citing celebs who cozied up to a movement intent on eroding women's hard-won rights can save their apologies for traumatized detransitioners and vulnerable women reliant on a single-sex spaces. Burn! Yeah, she's kind of gone scorched earth for over all of this stuff, and I'm honestly here for it. I love it. I love it. I love it very much. Despite this, her grip on the franchise remains strong. The upcoming Harry Potter reboot of the series, Rowling listed as executive producer, yada, yada, yada. JK is the Rowling to respect, HBO is like, hey, she's got the right to say whatever she wants. This franchise makes us money. Like, we're still printing money on just the merchandise alone. Like, it's the only thing we've really got that's profitable right now. So, yeah, we're not saying anything. So where she might decide to, I don't know, yank her rights and go shopping somewhere else. Yeah, that's not exactly what we want. The Tom Felton gender debate isn't really about gender at all. It's about whether people are still allowed to speak gratefully about someone in the media has blacklisted. Felton had said something honest, measured, and appreciative. In return, he was labeled a traitor by headline writers who never bothered to reflect what people are actually saying. The irony, while the press claimed Potter fans were tearing him apart, fans were actually lifting him up. Turns out the real magic is honesty, and Tom Felton might be the last wizard willing to use it. I love that. I absolutely love that. I'm just glad that there are, like I said, this makes me happy to see. This makes me hopeful for the future, because he's pushing back. He's not putting up with it. He's like, I'm not going to be part of this nonsense. I'm not going to put up with this garbage. I'm not going to answer your questions. I'm not going to fall for your stupid traps. I'm just not going to put up with this. You know what I mean? I'm grateful for the world she gave us. I don't care about her opinions. I'm an adult pretender, right? I'm your dancing monkey. I'm your dancing clown. That's all I'm supposed to do. You don't need my opinion on politics. You don't need me in the middle of all this nonsense. I don't want to be in the middle of all this nonsense. And that's the best thing that any of these actors or actresses could ever possibly do for themselves and for the franchises they are attached to. Just avoid this stuff altogether. And you know what else? Like we had the other guy, Nick Frost, right? They asked him about this too, and he goes, you know what? She can have her opinion and I can have mine. I might completely and totally disagree with her, but she's allowed to have her opinion. And I'm like, you know what? That's another good one. That's another good way to handle that. You want to put out your opinion and say you disagree with her? Fine. But be respectful about it. And he was. People are allowed to have their opinions. Like, this is the executive producer for your new show. Like, don't screw this up by coming out and saying something stupid, right? And I think with these people, like, we saw this happen, right? We saw this happen with Snow White. Right? Rachel Zegler could not help herself. She could not stop continuing to push her political agenda while she was supposed to be promoting a movie, while she was supposed to be pushing all this stuff, like over and over and over again, where at the exact same time, you see literally the villain from Harry Potter out there, one of the main protagonists going out there and showing that he's the true hero. And all it takes is being honest and a little common sense, boys and girls. This ain't rocket science. Right? These are politically charged questions. They're trying to get a soundbite out of you. They're trying to pull you into the middle of a bunch of gobbledygook that you don't need to be involved with. And Tom Felton has proven once again that he's an absolute class act and knows how to navigate Hollywood and all of their ridiculous reporters and all of their stupid questions 100% better than almost every single other one out there. So shout out to Tom Felton. The media is completely and totally lying about you. And of course, Harry Potter fans, actual Potterheads, absolutely stand with Tom Felton and his common sense take on being grateful to JK Rowling for giving us the Harry Potter universe. Because every Harry Potter fan out there should feel the exact same way. And at the end of the day, well, media, your lies can continue on and we keep calling you out and you will get exactly what you deserve.